I read a fascinating article this morning with a deliberately provocative title. Emotions are dangerous. They can't be proven wrong. It was written by philosopher Michael Brady, and underneath the provocative headline is an idea I think we desperately need to talk about. We've developed a culture where saying your feelings are valid has sometimes quietly turned into, therefore, your feelings must be correct. And those are two very different claims. Because I absolutely believe your emotional experience deserves to be acknowledged. If you're afraid, the fear is real. If you're hurt, the hurt is real. If you're jealous, ashamed, angry, anxious, or heartbroken, you're genuinely having that experience. But here's the uncomfortable question. Does this existence of an emotion prove that the interpretation contained within is true? No. And understanding why takes us somewhere fascinating. From philosophy into neuroscience. And eventually into the core wounds that may be shaping how you experience your life. Brady gives a very simple example. Someone can be terrified of flying while simultaneously knowing that commercial flying is extraordinarily safe. The fear is unquestionably real, but their emotional system is dramatically overestimating the danger. We can do the same thing relationally. You can feel jealous when your partner isn't betraying you. You can feel rejected when nobody has rejected you. You can feel ashamed when you've done nothing shameful. And you can feel unsafe when you're objectively safe. So here's the distinction I want you to remember. The feeling can be completely real while the conclusion is completely wrong. And neuroscience helps us understand how that's possible. One influential account comes from neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett and the theory of constructed emotion. The simplified version is this. Your brain isn't merely reacting to the world. It's continuously trying to predict what's happening and what your body's sensations mean. It uses information coming from inside your body. It uses what's happening around you. And importantly, it uses your previous experiences. Your past helps your brain make sense of your present. Now think about what that means in a relationship. Someone you care about normally messages you every morning. It's 11:30. Nothing. You look at your phone, your stomach drops. Your chest tightens. Maybe your heart starts beating faster. An emotion appears. Anxiety. That's your experience, and it deserves compassion. But almost immediately, your mind starts generating meaning. Something's different. They're pulling away. They've lost interest. There's someone else. I've done something wrong. And eventually, I'm going to be abandoned. Notice what happened. The observable fact was there is no message on my phone. Everything after that was interpretation. Now imagine that somewhere earlier in your life you learned, people leave, I'm not enough, I have to earn love, I'm replaceable. Or if somebody becomes distant, something terrible is about to happen. Your brain now has a lifetime of experience available to help interpret this ambiguous moment. So silence isn't simply silence anymore. Your nervous system says, I know what this means. Here it is again. And this is where things become really interesting. Because subjectively, you don't experience that as a prediction. You experience it as reality. They are leaving me. And then we often behave according to that reality. Maybe you send another message and another. Maybe you ask, what's wrong? Maybe you become angry. Maybe you withdraw first. Maybe you start checking social media. Maybe you catastrophize for 6 hours. And now something that began as an ambiguous event has activated an old wound, produced an emotional prediction, created a story, and potentially changed your behavior. This is why I don't want you to hear this video as don't trust your emotions. That's not what I'm saying. Emotions are incredibly valuable information. Fear can alert us to danger. Anger can tell us that something important has been violated. Grief tells us something mattered. Anxiety can tell us that our nervous system has detected uncertainty or threat. But information is not the same thing as proof, and that's the part I think our culture sometimes misses. If I tell you you shouldn't feel that way, I'm invalidating your experience. But if I tell you, because you feel that way, your interpretation must therefore be true, I may be validating a story that isn't true. Neither is particularly helpful. There is a third option, curiosity. Instead of immediately asking, what does this feeling prove? Ask, what might this feeling be telling me? And then separate three things. First, what happened? Only the observable facts. They haven't answered my message. Second, what am I feeling? Anxious, rejected, afraid? And third, what story am I constructing about what happened? They're leaving me. I'm not important. I'm being replaced. And then ask one final question. What evidence do I actually have that this story is true? Maybe there is evidence. This isn't about gaslighting yourself. Sometimes somebody really is withdrawing. Sometimes betrayal actually happened. And sometimes anger is entirely appropriate. Sometimes your nervous system accurately recognizes a pattern because you've seen it before. But sometimes the evidence isn't there. And that's where you get to ask a much deeper question. If this story isn't coming entirely from what's happening right now, where did I learn it? That's where core wound work begins. Not why am I so emotional, but why does this particular situation mean this particular thing to me? Why does silence mean abandonment? Why does criticism mean I'm worthless? Why does somebody choosing someone else mean I'm replaceable? Why does conflict mean love is about to disappear? Now we're no longer fighting the emotion. We're understanding the pattern underneath it. And once you can see the pattern, you have an opportunity to change your relationship with it. So yes, your feelings are valid, but valid doesn't mean infallible. You can honor an emotion without obeying it. You can listen to fear without assuming danger. You can experience rejection without concluding you're worthless. You can feel abandonment without assuming you're actually being abandoned. And perhaps the healthiest relationship we can develop with our emotions isn't blind trust or distrust. It's curiosity. Your emotion deserves compassion. Your interpretation deserves investigation. Because sometimes your nervous system is responding beautifully to what's happening right now. And sometimes it's responding perfectly to something that happened 20 years ago. Feel the feeling, investigate the story, and then decide what you actually believe.